decide to study abroad for the year and you want to watch a video about that or what have you, there are additional resources there for you. So all of the pictures throughout this presentation today, the vast majority of them I took abroad on my travels when I was a student. So on the left-hand side there, you'll see my sister and a lovely photo of Ireland as I flew over it, and then a dear friend of mine from high school in Ireland. So I'll introduce myself quickly. My name is Bryn Lemon, and I use she, her, hers pronouns. So I am the scholarship, this is my old title here. I'm the Assistant Director of Alumni Engagement and Scholarships at our office here in Goleta. So I've been working for our program for about 3.5 years now, and was recently promoted, which I'm grateful for. So I'm excited to have you all here today to talk about my love of study abroad and to share with you some tips and tricks about applying for your programs. So I studied abroad in 2015 at the University of Edinburgh. So I did that program for 1 year. And I loved it so much that when I came back to UC Santa Barbara, where I was completing my undergraduate degree, I chose to graduate early so that I could move back to Scotland and work in their office for another year. So I was lucky to fill a role as the program intern there in our office in Edinburgh, which is unfortunately a program that has been paused since COVID. But if it ever starts back up again, I highly recommend that any of you apply for it. And following my term in Scotland, I chose to move to Chile for a year. So I've also lived in South America, really loved that experience. It was really formative for me as a person. And I'm happy to talk to anyone who's considering a program in either of those countries to provide you additional details about my experiences there. But clearly study abroad has been a large aspect of my life for several years now. So I'm excited to share with you all today that experience. And on the left-hand side here, you will see my contact information. So you can contact me directly at blemon@uceap.universityofcalifornia.edu. Or if you have a broader kind of scholarship related question, I recommend using the scholarships account, which you'll see just below there. Okay, so our UCEAP system-wide scholarship portfolio is divided into a few different sectors here. So generally, you're going to apply for a UCEAP global scholarship. That's going to be the first award that you apply for within our system. So that's kind of our overarching award. And we also offer additional named awards. So these are donor-funded scholarships, which are specific to a region perhaps, or a certain like language study. Some of them don't have qualifications, but often they do. And beyond this, we have our year-long scholarships, extension scholarships, and some additional awards in our portfolio, but we won't probably discuss those in any depth today because they aren't really applicable to summer. If you choose to conduct an internship abroad or research when you return, you can apply for an internship award or an undergraduate research award. I won't go into details about those today, but just keep them in the back of your mind. If you are considering either of those pathways, then you could apply for one of those down the line. So let's discuss eligibility really quickly. So all UCEAP students are eligible to apply for an award. So we don't have any citizenship, residency, or other eligibility requirements. So if you apply for and are ultimately selected for a UCEAP scholarship, then you qualify for it, which is very exciting. So I have a question in the chat saying that they're trying to apply for a UCEAP global scholarship, but the website is listing them as not currently qualified. I have a feeling this might be an issue for quite a few students this term. Unfortunately, there was a technical glitch in our application system this term that prevented students from applying for their awards initially, and I had to kind of do some backdoor work to get it to function. What I would likely put that down to is that you have not filled out the conditional application on the left-hand side of the screen. So yes, if you fill in the 2023 to 2024 conditional application, it will ask you to specify your term abroad. So you'll state that you're going abroad for summer. Once you've done so, it will recommend the opportunity to you. So make sure that you have filled out that conditional app. It may have a green check mark even if you haven't done it, which is very frustrating on our end. It's just something we can't fix this term, but we will moving forward. Do make sure that you have gone ahead and filled out that conditional app that will allow you to see those opportunities. And thank you, Nathaniel, for letting me know that you were able to finish your application. That's great. Okay, so that's about eligibility. Now let's discuss our timeline really quickly. So we do offer $1,000 awards each for summer programs. And if you choose to go abroad for a quarter, semester, or year-long study, those awards are listed at $2,000 each. And below, you'll see the deadlines for each term. So the application must be submitted by 11:59 p.m. on the day that it's due. So do ensure that you are prepping that application early, you're ready to submit it. You can even submit it in advance and then go back and edit it. I highly recommend doing so. That way, just in case there's any issues, you at least have the basis of it in the system, because we don't allow any late applications based on the fact that we receive so many applications each term. So we want to make sure you're really on top of all your deadlines. So for summer, it will be February 15th is our deadline. So that is next Wednesday. So thank you for coming along and doing the work to make sure that your application is up to snuff, but it will be due next Wednesday. So be sure that you're really on top of that. Okay, so UCEAP scholarships require a certain application here. So there's a form that asks for a lot of kind of demographic information of yours, academic information, and some broader questions. And then you have your statement of purpose. So this is 750 words, and the prompt kind of varies year to year, but we'll go over the prompt in just a moment. I'm actually going to switch screens and show you how to get into our application system, but I'll do that towards the end of our presentation today. I just want to go over the basics with you first. But the link to apply is down there. If you have not already started your application, I highly recommend you do so today. But that is the link to apply. And you will want to indicate your interest in UCEAP scholarships, and that will give you the access to the award, as we discussed earlier. So quickly, let's go over some application tips. So you want to make sure that your personal statement is memorable. So my biggest tip for you is to make sure that you really infuse your application with your own voice. So be specific about your backgrounds and your reasons for going abroad. And we're also looking for students who have found programs that match their academic and professional needs. So we want to know that you've done a lot of research about the program that you've ultimately selected. So when I was a student, for example, why had I chosen Edinburgh? What about that program really drew me to it? Well, at the time, I was an English literature major, and I was really passionate about literature. And I noticed that the University of Edinburgh had a lot of wonderful literature courses that were very unique and were not offered at my home institution. And also the city itself is a very literary city. So had I applied for scholarships, that would have been kind of my focus in my statement of purpose in terms of academics. Like this is a city that really imbues all of the values and kind of interest points that I have, and it reflects it well. And I think that it would be beneficial to me in my academic career to study here. Career-wise, so let's say you want to go on to be a doctor and you choose to study abroad in Mexico. Maybe explain to us the link there. It could be that you want to work in downtown Los Angeles with primarily Spanish-speaking populations. And so going into a country where you have full language immersion will be deeply helpful for you. Or you could explain that this is actually more of a personal experience. So you want to go abroad to Italy, for example, because your grandmother taught you how to cook amazing Italian food growing up, and it's something you really want to experience again within the country itself. Or you're really passionate about art, and there's certain art museums that are in Italy that you wouldn't have access to outside of there. Or maybe there's a specific sports team at the university that you really want to join that you wouldn't have the opportunity to do so at home. So basically, let us know that you've done a lot of research about your program, and there's definitely something specific that's drawing you there. That will make your application much more memorable than just kind of stating that you have great grades, or that you're excited to travel from that point. So on that note, please stay away from cliches about travel and other cultures when you write your applications. So we know that studying abroad is such a life-changing opportunity, and I'm so excited that you all will have this option and opportunity to experience this, but we don't necessarily need you to state it within your statement of purpose. So you do want to make sure that you are speaking from your heart. So we don't necessarily need to know that you've chosen a program in Berlin because it's a great central hub for cheap flights to other countries. Obviously, we want you to travel and experience all there is to experience while studying abroad, of course. But we also really want you to make sure that you are choosing a program for the program itself. You've chosen this country, and we want to know why. What about it draws you in? And broadly speaking, I would recommend while you study abroad to spend as much time in your host country as possible. I know it's really exciting, especially for those of us who haven't traveled before at all before our programs. I had never left the United States before I studied abroad on my program. And it's really tempting to want to spend every weekend jetting off to somewhere else because the flights are relatively affordable from Europe or where have you. But I think you lose a lot in that process of kind of not being present in the host country that you've selected. So if possible, I always recommend that you spend as much time in your host country as you can. So, and also finally, if you're a member of an underrepresented group and study abroad, we want you to explain how that has impacted your ability to participate in our program. So if you're a first generation college student, talk about what that was like to, we invite you to talk about what that was like to apply for these programs. You know, maybe you don't necessarily have the same support or like experience in your family to help you do these applications. Maybe you are a STEM major and it's really hard for you to fit this into your academic calendar, but it's really important to you to do so. Or maybe you're a single parent and that's a consideration factor. Or you're a transfer student, you have a shorter period of time at your UC. Why are you choosing to study abroad? Explain it to us and what that process has been like. And all of those are very, very important factors to mention in your application. So if you are ultimately selected for an award, you will need to complete a thank you letter to the donor of your award upon acceptance, as well as a 2-page report when you return from your program abroad, and send in some photos to us as well so we can use them in presentations like this. So I mentioned that there is the global scholarship, and then there are named awards in our system. So our named awards are specific to certain programs or certain demographics of students. You'll see a few of them listed here. And there are additional named awards actually for our summer program. So I'm going to go into our website in a moment and show you a little more detail on that. So I think I'm going to pop over there really quickly and show you the actual application process here. So hopefully you can see my screen here. We have, oh, it has loaded. Let me just try to reload it really quickly. You should be able to see the opportunities displaying on my screen here. So I am signed in as an applicant here. And in my general application, I've just filled out some broader demographic details about myself, including my student ID, my contact information, and all of these things, and my authorization to release this information to the reviewer. You'll want to go down here on the left-hand column to the UCEAP application, scholarship application 2023 to 2024. So this is very important that you complete this. This might be the step that a lot of you are getting stuck on. So you will want to click that you are applying for UCEAP scholarships, and you will want to indicate the term that you are studying abroad. So if I were to indicate that I'm studying abroad for the summer, I would hit yes there, and I'm just going to update my application. And once I have done so, you will see that the system has now recognized that I'm studying abroad for summer, and it has given me this global scholarship application here. So I'm going to go on to the right-hand side here and click apply. And once I do, I get this large kind of form here that I'll need to fill out with all of my information about my programs. So it lists kind of demographic information, and then at the very bottom here, you will see our statement of purpose. So I'm just going to read it out loud to everyone so that if you haven't seen it yet, you know what you're writing on. But it states to limit your essay to 750 words and to keep it focused and concise with clear writing. And just be sure that you're really focusing on your spelling and grammar and getting someone to read over your application. It's very easy when you've written, you know, the same line 7 times and you've read it a bunch, and you get really used to seeing what it looks like and filling in the words yourself. And you may not even notice that there's a grammatical error or like even a missing word or repetitive words in there because you're expecting to see a certain thing. So I always recommend having a second set of eyes on your application. And when preparing to write it, we want you to think about how you're going to learn and grow from your program abroad. So specific questions you are tasked to answer here are: what sparked your interest in study abroad? How will your program relate to your academic and or career or professional goals? What academic preparation have you done for your program? And if you're a student with financial need, please discuss how this has impacted your decision to study abroad. What do you hope to experience while abroad? How do you anticipate you'll embrace challenges abroad? And how do you hope to grow personally while abroad? Following this, there's an option to list, to explain a little bit of your experience as an underrepresented student in study abroad, should that apply to you. Granted, this is a long statement of purpose. There's a lot of prompts here. We don't necessarily expect you to go into any great detail about all of them. I would recommend crafting your application to represent you as a student. So you may not be able to answer each aspect of this prompt, but give us a little overview of kind of who you are and how your study abroad program will impact you as a student. And when you're finished, you can go ahead and hit finish and submit. And you can actually continue to edit your application after this point. So I would always recommend doing so, and then you can go back in and edit it up until the deadline. So someone was asking in our chat if there are any panelists discussing the scholarship app or the app in general. There aren't necessarily any videos about kind of panelists doing so, but if you go to videos here, you will see other webinars that I've hosted in the past and other just general information videos about our programs that I would really recommend checking out if you are excited about studying abroad. If you're, for example, studying abroad in Northern Europe and you want to watch a video about that, our YouTube channel is a really great resource there. So I'll go ahead and put this into our chat here for everyone who wants to access it. And I will also put the link to our application system here. Hopefully you have found the presentation helpful to this point. So I hope that you enjoyed the material that we've covered thus far. And should you have any additional questions, I'm here to answer them. So someone asks, how easy are the scholarships to get? So it's another way of asking kind of how competitive are the awards. So prior to COVID, we had greater funding within our scholarship budget. And unfortunately, that has been limited since COVID. So our awards have gotten more competitive. They've always been competitive, but they are even more so now. I would say that summer tends to be quite a competitive term. And so unfortunately, we are only able to give out, depending on the term, about 50 awards to students. And so sometimes we have upwards of 500 applications. So it can be quite competitive. So I would recommend, in addition to applying for our scholarships, that you also apply to your campus-based awards or any kind of external scholarships that you may find, just to make sure that you're spreading your applications as broadly as you can, because it is sometimes a bit challenging to be selected for an award. So always put your best foot forward on the award, on the application as you can. So trying to focus on all of those elements that we discussed prior to ending the meeting will be very, very helpful. Someone asks, is the content more important than the language and word choice we write in the essay? Good question. So I think that it's important to present yourself as a student. So if you maybe aren't the most eloquent student and it doesn't come naturally to you to write an essay, I would ask for help to try to get it to a place where you feel really comfortable and confident submitting it. But I would say the content is really important. The style of submitting it does matter. We do have reviewers. Sometimes donors are a bit more specific or kind of traditional in their viewpoint of what constitutes a good application. And so I would recommend putting a lot of effort into the actual wording as well. But of course, yes, the content is the shining point that really does matter. Someone asks, how can we find campus-based scholarships or external scholarships? That's a great question. So all the different UCs have different study abroad kind of offices or programs. So UC Santa Barbara, for example, has a pretty robust UCEAP program on campus to kind of help students, advise them and steer them in the right direction towards their applications. Not all of the UCs do offer this. And so I would say that I would just recommend maybe getting in touch with your campus office. So just looking online, like for example, UC Davis Study Abroad, it will help you find the right office to contact. And then you want to be very specific that you are thinking about studying on UCEAP, because there are different campus-based programs or other programs more broadly. So please make sure that you contact, the correct office about it. Someone asks, what are some common mistakes that students make when writing their personal statement? That's a really good question. I think that some students neglect to discuss the academic element of their program because they're so excited about other aspects of it, and it is important to make sure that you address that. So I would really ensure that you are trying to hit every aspect of the prompt. I think that some students maybe get bogged down in kind of talking about their, I'm not really sure. I think that each application is so specific. I wouldn't say there's necessarily like mistakes that students can make. It's just a matter of making sure that your application really stands out. I think that is really, really important. So definitely ensure that you are putting as much effort into it as you possibly can. Sarah mentions that she is not able to, is listed as not eligible to apply for an award, even though the description applies to her. So do ensure, Sarah, as I was saying earlier in the presentation, that you do need to make sure that you have submitted that conditional application. So you do need to make sure that you indicate that you're going abroad for a certain term. If beyond that you're still having issues, I'll go and look for your email just following this presentation and try to get back to you about that and figure out what's going on specifically with your account. So Colleen says, can you provide the web address for the application portal again? Yeah, let me go ahead and pull it up and I should be able to give you the link for that. And also, if you do have a broader application for study abroad in our system, these systems are not linked. So you will need to create a new application. So you will need to create a totally new username and password in order to apply. So our next question is, after submitting the general app, do we have to answer more essays for particular scholarships, and are there deadlines for those also February 15th? So the specific scholarships, typically the named awards are internal matches. So once you've submitted an application, you don't necessarily need to submit any additional application materials for those. But if you qualify and you are at the top of your class when the reviews are conducted, you will be considered internally. So you won't need to do additional work for that. You will need to apply for the Albert Gymnasium Scholarship independently. So that is our videography scholarship. So if you are interested in creating video content for UCEAP and you want to apply for that award, I really recommend doing so, but it is a separate application. Two scholarships that I didn't mention in our previous discussion are for our summer awards. They are the Gallon Scholarship and the Mara Melandri Scholarship, and these are specific to Italy, so programs in Italy. So if you're considering studying abroad in Italy for this summer, I really recommend that you apply for a global scholarship and you will be considered for those awards once your application is in the system. Someone asks, when will we hear back from scholarships if we've been accepted? So typically we run our application cycle from March 1st, our review cycle, pardon me, from March 1st to March 15th. So you will want to look for that response towards the end of March. I typically try to send it out before the withdrawal deadline. So you should be looking to get that response by the end of March. Okay, I think those are the questions that we've gotten so far. I'm still here for additional questions. If you have anything else you want to add to the Q&A or the chat, happy to discuss it with you. Otherwise, I really hope this presentation has been helpful, and I wish you the best of luck in applying. And you have my contact information from the previous presentation, should you have any follow-up questions. So someone asks, are we able to get more funding outside of UCEAP scholarships? So you could definitely look into external awards. So the one benefit I would say of UCEAP scholarships is we try our best when applying your awards not to affect your grants and loans. So if you do receive external scholarships, sometimes that is factored into your financial aid and could even be kind of a detriment to the funding that you do receive. I know that's kind of confusing. I would recommend talking to your financial aid office on campus about the way that that could impact your funding. But you can apply for external scholarships. I would recommend doing just some online research about different opportunities, maybe even looking at your host university to see if they offer any funding for you. There's a few different kind of resource points that you could go there. I don't know of any specific kind of organization that I would necessarily recommend broadly for scholarships outside of our system, but certainly you could do some online research and then talk to your program advisor about whether you should apply for those particular scholarships. So someone asks, if they withdraw from their program, do we simply let UCEAP know if they have been selected for a scholarship? Yes, so do let us know. And then basically, if you withdraw before your program, all of those funds will be sent back to UCEAP. And you may need to kind of pay some withdrawal fees or things of that nature. So that might be a consideration factor there if you are considering withdrawing. If you do end up needing to leave for like an emergency halfway through your program, that's typically on a case-by-case basis, whether we let you keep the funds or not. So someone asked in our chat, could you again share the website login links and your UCEAP contact information? Yeah, so, oh, let's see, that link didn't go through to everyone. That's why. Let me share it with everyone. There we go. Hopefully you see that now. And then our email is just scholarships@uceap.universityofcalifornia.edu. So that should allow you to access those things. Do summer programs include plane tickets back to LA? So the cost of your program should have like the cost listed online. I believe it factors in the cost of a flight, the average cost of a flight from California. I could be wrong about that. So I would recommend looking at the budget breakdown on the website to see if that is kind of included within the approximated cost there. All right. Are there any additional questions amongst our audience? Anyone have any further questions they want answered? Thank you so much for attending, everyone. It's been really fun. Someone said, if I want to fly somewhere that's not Los Angeles, can I deduct that from the total? So yeah, I would talk to your financial advisor about that. I'm not sure that's not something that you like pay directly to us. That's an external fee. Basically, the program cost that you'll see listed online is an approximation. It's not actually explicitly the cost that you will pay as a student. So it takes into account like your phone bill and accommodation and approximated costs. So all of those like accommodation and flights and all of those things are conducted independently. You don't pay UCEAP to help you book those things. It's just an estimated cost on the website. So what's sent to us directly are your program fees and participation costs. So that's independent. Someone said, do we use our student SSO? Is that your student ID number maybe for making an account, or a new login? You're going to make a totally new login. So you can even use a personal email. Sometimes students have trouble creating a profile on our website because they use their UC email and they're not getting, for example, their confirmation email. If that's the case, you're welcome to use a personal email in lieu of your UC email address. And yes, you create a totally independent password, and it's a totally separate account. So yes, it's going to be new. Someone asked, is the $2,000 award a fixed number for the global scholarship? It is, yeah. So that is the maximum that you can receive for the global scholarship. And if you're studying abroad in the summer, it's actually going to be $1,000. So because summer costs tend to be a bit smaller because they are shorter programs, we only offer $1,000 over the summer. So $2,000 is for the semester or quarter. All right. Any other questions that I can help answer today? Thank you so much to those of you in the chat who are popping off. I really appreciate you attending today. Again, you've got the YouTube account as a resource. You've got your campus advisors and lots of people that go around and help you with this process. So you're on the right track by attending this Q&A and getting your questions answered. So I'm really glad that you were here today. Someone asks, do we need to be officially nominated for a program to apply for a scholarship? No. So as I mentioned at the beginning of the call, you do not need to officially be admitted yet. You just need to have started an application for it. So if you're still in the process of like a campus review or a host campus review, that's totally fine. List the intended program that you plan to go on. And then obviously, if you aren't ultimately admitted to that program or what have you, you would just remove your application down the line. So you can start your application regardless, yes.